All right, back again, spreading truth. What day is it? I think it's Friday, isn't it? It's Friday, October 31st. How fast did that frickin' get here? Holy shit. Anyway, I got a lot, as usual, got a lot of voices to be heard, right? And, quick little tidbits first, before we get going. You know, I've said this a gazillion times, is this topic that dominates my channel currently is one of the easiest ones I can utilize to show anyone who wants to listen that we are being lied to about basically everything. right? On a grand level. And yeah, I am a truther. As I said before, I'm not really a member of the so-called Bigfoot Sasquatch community. I'm not. I'm a member of the truther community, and I'm a member of the real world. And I need all of my fellow human being community members to know what's really going on out there. But on that note, just so you guys know, try to understand just how frustrating it must be for me, because I'm not all about this topic. It doesn't dominate my existence. Do you know what I mean? I'm not obsessed with this one topic. But I do make a point of doing what I say I'm going to do. And if I say I'm going to make sure every voice gets heard, I'm going to make sure every voice gets heard. But along the same time as that, I've got a whole bunch of other things in life that I like to do and look into and listen to and give energy to. Hope I'm making sense. But it is frustrating for me at times to not spew out what's going on in the world besides this one topic, is all I'm saying. Because I keep tabs on it all the time. The time when I do have time to listen and dig, I listen and dig to everything that's going on in the world. And I come up with my own conclusions, and there isn't one person alive that can just tell me what's up. I need to listen to everybody, and then I make a decision with my gut on what's going on. But I'm not, I guess, what am I trying to say? I'm trying not to go on rants about specific items that are going on in the planet today, because all of those topics are being covered pretty well, I think. And if any of you have actual concern for what's going on outside in the world besides this one topic, you probably know what I'm talking about. You're already aware, and I don't need to repeat, because there's a lot of channels that are repeat the same main themes that are going on in the news today, right? And I won't be one of those people, but bear with me. Make sure, I hope every single person I can get to their ear, first and foremost, I would like to keep reminding people that don't forget, whoever they try to discredit or silence, usually those people that are being silenced or are being discredited, they're telling the truth. All right? Only the guilty tries to stop people from talking. Don't forget that. All right? Because mainstream is still owned by the dark side. And there's a lot of people out there who have a strong voice, a big voice. And I'm becoming more aware that some of those voices who I trusted in the past have made it quite obvious to me lately that, they're under the thumb too. They're under the thumb too when it comes to avoiding some truths that we should have fair crack at learning. There's a lot of voices out there who I thought were legitimate. I think they're fairly legitimate still, but they've had a talking to. And I'm thoroughly convinced that once you get to a sizable size, you get a talking to. I have a hard time believing today that if you do have a massive voice and platform, I just got a funny feeling so far in this war that's going on behind the scenes. I got a funny feeling that the dark side still has enough power that they want you to shut up. You're going to shut up. I think so. And I'm starting to listen even a little harder to some of the previous voices I thought were legitimate. I still think they're legitimate to a point, but I'm just saying, I think once you get to a certain size, you get a talking to. And if you don't agree, you get rubbed out. Like they rubbed out Charlie Kirk. And I do I believe, here's an easy example, do I believe the Candace Owens is onto the truth? I do. I absolutely do. There's too much evidence, visual evidence of that. That's just one item in our existence today, an easy one, okay? I'm just saying. I believe Charlie Kirk was not going to go down the path that the dark want the people with the big platform to go down, so they offed him. Do I believe that is true? Myself, I do, yes. Okay. Case closed. There. Not case closed, but you get the point that I'm making. Anyway, what was I trying to say today? See, I don't practice up, obviously. I'm not the best word slinger in the planet, and my brain doesn't mesh up with my lips that smoothly all the time, but I'm just trying to make sure that I just would like to make sure that everybody knows that Make sure you see through the clouds, through the smoke. All right? Make sure you understand and accept the fact that whoever is getting discredited the most on mainstream is more than likely telling the truth. Okay? And only the bad guys try to stop people from speaking out loud. Okay? That's, I guess, the message I'm trying to get across. Sorry, lost in my brain. It's frustrating at times because I could really go off on a lot of topics beside this one. But I promise to make sure I get every voice heard. That's what I'm going to continue to do. And I will win. I will get them all heard. I don't lose when it comes to... I don't. When it comes to somebody trying to prevent me from anything, I'm going to win. I'm all in. I'm going to win. That's all there is to it. You're not going to win. Not when you come against me. If I say I'm going to do something, you're not going to win. There you go. Rambling. Sorry. What's going on as well? I'm going to get to some emails in a second. Just so you know, there's some crazy stuff's going on in Canada today. Sarah informed me that there's a bill about to be pushed through. They're trying to push it through that makes it okay to kill babies if they're special needs. That's after birth. There's a bill proposed in the Canadian government that green lights to euthanize babies that are special needs. Fact. What else is going on up here? As you know, one of our best friends in the whole planet, right next door, United States, neighbors of Canada, open borders, our globalist regime member is absolutely failing, and now we're one of the only countries in the world that the United States is completely ignoring. That's pretty cool, huh? What a great job. But on that note, would it be horrible? I could see it too. I could see it if they take it. And I do believe the main reason behind that is because the person who's been installed as the leader in Canada is an absolute globalist tool to the globalists, without a doubt. And I have a feeling that's why he's not receiving any respect from my brothers and sisters from the South. And I wouldn't be surprised if they took it a step further and said that we can't travel in the United States pretty quick. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised with the crazy shit that's going on. I wouldn't be surprised, and that would be quite sad for me and many others. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Some crazy ass shit is going on in the world today in numerous countries. Whether or not, I hope you're aware of it, because there's some crazy ass shit going down. Big time. Big time, and it's picking up speed. All right. No more babbling. No more babbling. Sorry, you guys. Those of you who know, you probably agree, would not have to agree, but I think you'd agree with me that I do a pretty good job on biting my lip with the rants, with what's going on in the world, considering I keep tabs on everything. Man, could I go on? But I won't. That was a pretty good one. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I probably come across as an absolute psychopath most of the time anyway, right? But here we go. Who doesn't? Mark, this is Red. Another voice to be heard? All right. This first email is titled Greed. I think it was sent in September this year. Mr. Isdall. In my opinion, the worst thing that has ever been introduced to the human race is currency/money. Without a doubt. The First Nations people didn't use money. They used other items for bartering. Money controls everything, and greed, being one of the 7 deadly sins, just has some trying to accumulate as much as possible. We have people who have $300 billion or more. What the F are they going to do with that much money? If I won the lottery, I'd get or do all the things, me and my family, everything we need, and just set them up for the rest of their lives. And then I'd hook up my true friends, of which there are only 2 or 3. I've always felt better giving than receiving. The Western European/Spain, Portuguese, French, and Italian explorers ruined this world in the 14th and 16th centuries. They killed indigenous peoples for their gold, silver, and precious stones. Took slaves and wiped out native peoples. For your information, money doesn't mean much to me. I am a retired disabled Marine who lives paycheck to paycheck with a few bucks left over for ammo and other gear. Thanks for allowing me to chew your eyes and ears. We love you, brother. That's speaking for all or most in this community of the round table. Appreciate the kind words, man, and everybody gets a chance to rant, right? But just so you know, don't forget, it's not just those countries that you listed above that enslaved and killed the indigenous peoples. The indigenous peoples killed each other for the same shit for a long time before we got here. Have a look into the Haida, see what they did. They went from the Queen Charlotte Islands, that's mid-north coast of British Columbia, all the way down to California, taking heads, taking slaves, raping people, and taking a shit. Way before we got here. So, don't forget, we're all in the same bucket together, all right? We are. It's easily proven fact. Maybe look into how scared all of the other indigenous, a lot of indigenous tribes in the South were scared of the Comanches. Find out what they did. Just saying. Just saying. We're all equal. We're all coming to the same bucket. We're all guilty of the same shit. Right? But yeah, the money thing hasn't created too much good, has it? Now, what do we got here? Did I read this before? I don't know. It's marked as a look into, so I must have read it. Give me a second. It's just a shorty. Look, if you want more information for it. Shalom, Steve. My name is Clifford Stevens. I really hope the best for you and all you care for. I have written in before. Most notable, I believe, was my share about Predator in the Headlights. It was an account of what myself and my girlfriend witnessed in Burlington, Kansas. My first share was about having a wild man in southeast Kansas yell at me on July 4th, 2015. Anyways, just jogging your memory about things I shared, and I have so much more that I didn't want to send in as to create so many multiple emails. I'd like to try to share with you in a video chat. Okay, yeah, I marked this as read. All right, so here's what's going on with having people on here. Sarah started an email, what's it called? True Talk at howtohunt.com, and I have a feeling that the majority of the people that are seeing those email invites from her, it's going into their spam or they're thinking it's spam. Because she's not getting emails back. So I told her this morning, I said, look, why don't you just email everybody back from sharemystory at howtohunt.com, which is where they emailed to, and then they'll probably get it. So, you're on the list, all right? Make sure you check your emails, you guys. Make sure you check them. And we'll hear what you got to say. I'm all over, man. I'm all over it, my man. I'm all over it. This is titled Sasquatch Story. My mother and father purchased a plot of land on the Methow River in northeast Washington State. That's M-E-T-H-O-W. Methow River. One of my early trips was when I was around 7 or 8 years old, and I'm 56 now. My dad and I hiked up the river from the property. And we're going to do some fishing. And my dad had brought a .22 revolver with him to do some lessons for me in shooting and gun safety. That's awesome. Raised him right. We were on the river when we heard some loud crashing of trees on the other side of the river. I looked at my dad and said, there's something over there. We quickly left the area and headed back to our camp. And my father was a very knowledgeable person in the outdoors. He was a hunter and a fisherman. We never spoke to each other about this incident, and it very well could have been a bear, elk, or a deer. My father and I just never spoke to each other about it. Kind of like it never happened. Kind of weird for us to never discuss this all my life growing up with him. My family and I went up there many times through the years, and years later in my teenage years, we were back there, and something was crashing through the woods again. It was on our property at night, and something threw a large rock about the size of a melon. I don't think he was aiming at us, but hoping, I guess, to scare us off. Again, nothing was said from that incident. No shit. No way. Have you ever heard of a place called Mazama? Mazama? M-A-Z-A-M-A? It's on the east side of the Cascades. It's roughly 20 or so miles from Canada. The only sign of a border was a gate back then, and it was very remote. Now, from what I have read, it has mountain bikers and whatnot. Back in the day, it really was a remote area. I've never told anyone about all this, not even the wife. Well, wives. The first marriage lasted 20 years and the new one 15. Joseph Pittner. Okay, appreciate you, Joseph. We got you. Shared, my man. You know what it was. You know what it was, right? You know what it was. This next email title is Sasquatch Intelligence and Fear. Wait a minute, might have had a look into on this too. Hello, Steve. Thank you very much for this platform. Without it, I probably wouldn't be sharing this email with you because I literally have been laughed to scorn when trying to share this account with others. I've been with you from day one and was with you when it was solely hunt stories. I read this and it was marked as look into. That's why it's not marked as read. Gotcha. And you will be getting an email from Sarah. All right? Moving along. Is my grandson in danger? Update and all names removed. Okie dokie. Hi, Steve. My name is Bella. I'm a 50 years old mother and grandmother from south of Sweden. I'm trying to keep this letter short, but to know you, since there is so much I have to tell you. A few months back, I wrote to Scott Carpenter, this is an older one, about my experiences, but I haven't heard back from him. I know that he's a busy man and that I'm not the only one reaching out to him, so I'm sure that he will respond to me as soon as he finds the time. But since there has been more sightings since then, I just had to reach out to you too. And this is part of what I wrote to Scott about my own experiences with the big guy. Okay, I'm not sure when this originally came in, but Scott's passed away, rest in peace. Last New Year's Eve, when my youngest son, we'll call him L, and I were on our way home, we had a strange sighting. L was driving and I was trying to sleep. We spent the day at my oldest son's house and had about 1 hour's drive home. I slumbered off from time to time, but when we got a few miles from our home, I got a very queasy feeling. So I sat up and started looking around. I was shaken, nervous, but I had no reason to feel that way. I felt stupid, but I couldn't lose the feeling that something was going to happen. Almost feeling that we were being watched. And all of a sudden we saw a big tall creature, about 10 feet tall, I guess, standing in the ditch on the right side of the road. He was standing with his back against us, waving his arms like a crazy person. What? Back against us? No way. Stomping his feet. My son hit the brakes and the car was slowing down. And this frightened me even more than the creature itself. I screamed at the top of my lungs for my son to hit the gas and drive as fast as he could by that thing, whatever it was. Hit it if you have to, but don't hit it if you have to, but don't slow down, I cried. I did not want to see that beast drag my son out of the car and hurt him in any way. Yes, I have a vivid imagination. Sometimes. My son later told me that he didn't want to hit that thing since it would probably just have messed up the car and we would have been in even more trouble. The creature had long hair, about 4 to 5 inches long, the color of a fox or maybe an orangutan all over the body. It was standing straight up on 2 legs, and it was waving its arms like a crazy person, as I told you before, stomping the ground with its feet and trying to look as big as he could. And make no mistake, he was big. But quite slender, if that's the right word. Built almost like a basketball player. When we were about 30 yards from it, it took one big step into the woods and hidden behind where the beast had stood a second ago was a big, beautiful moose with large horns. The moose looked into the forest and just kept on eating whatever it was eating in that ditch. We drove by the animal in silence and went on home. That's a weird one. This has changed both of us, but in different ways. Al and I talked a lot about what we had seen that same night and the morning after. Since then, he does not want to discuss it much, but I can't let it go. The question I keep asking myself is if the beast perhaps tried to make us aware of the moose, flapping his arms and stomping around the way he did. Considering how calm the moose was, it must have been friends with the beast. I suppose the thing was trying to save the moose from being hit by a car. Perhaps it even saved our lives. I know that you yourself, as well as others, have told people not to stop enjoying the woods, to keep on hiking and so on. But for me, that's no longer an option. The fear of bumping into one of those creatures has stopped me from all outdoor activity. I loved walking in the forest, picking mushrooms with my granddaughter, but that will never happen again. I can't take the risk of putting her in danger. It has changed the way I look at the world in a way, although I've always believed in Bigfoot, I guess, if that's what I saw, but I had no idea those creatures existed here in Sweden. And I really wish from the bottom of my heart that I had never seen that thing, whatever it was. Sadly, I've seen way stranger creatures than this, but I won't tell about them here and now. A few weeks after L let the cat in for the night, he saw a pair of glowing eyes watching him from behind a tree approximately 7 to 8 feet up, almost like someone was hiding behind the tree, leaning out to take a good look at him. He was pretty shaken up and checked the window several times before finally going to bed that night. He hasn't seen the eyes since then, but he has heard whistling from the trees when calling his cat. I wish that it would have ended here, but it didn't. I told my oldest son, we can call him K, and his wife about what my youngest son and I saw on our way home from their house, and they both believed me. K said that he had been hearing strange knocking coming from the woods, but only when he was outside alone or trying to get the baby to sleep in the stroller, never when his wife was around. I told him to never knock back, and to never ever leave the baby alone outside no matter what. Being Swedes, we often like to have our babies sleeping outside in the stroller to get as much fresh air as possible, and of course never leave them any food. Them in quotes. And everything was calm for about 6 to 7 months. Then Kay told me one day that he had seen what he thought was a Bigfoot run across the road approximately 1 to 150 yards in front of his car. He described the creature as very big, black, and running with a straight back and bent legs. Soon after, his wife had a similar sighting on her way to work. And on the 12th of July last year, Al took his little nephew on a ride with a quad bike. Is that the right word? And they went up and down the long road leading to Kay's house in the middle of the forest. Kay and his family are literally living in the middle of nowhere. The baby was only 18 months old at that time. They came back, and Elle looked a little bit worried, saying that the baby had waved to someone in the woods not far from the house. The grandson looked worried too and couldn't stop talking about, quote, the man, end quote. And he kept pointing to his little eyes and said, man weird. Kay jumped up on the four-wheeler as well, and they kept driving for a while, but they didn't see the man again. Maybe a week after that, Kay saw a big black hairy shoulder and arm slip away behind some trees, not more than 30 yards from the house. He went inside and told no one at the time. A few days later, Kay was outside working and had to relieve himself, so he went to the backside of his house to do so. Crouching behind some bushes, not more than 7 yards away, he saw a Bigfoot looking up on his house. The creature saw him and had a look on his face like, shit, he's not supposed to see me. And the creature quickly took a few steps back and disappeared among the bushes. Kay ran into the house and forgot about nature calling him. Haha. Kay explained the creature he saw like this, quote, it was about 6 to 7 feet tall and muscular. It looked to be a young male. He had black hair, about 4 inches long, black skin, and even black eyes. His head was quite big, but proportional to his body. His face was square, but looked very human-like. But his nose, as well as his mouth, was slightly wider than a human. He had hair all over the body except from the face. He had a big forehead as well as a high hairline. It was not as tall as the big one I saw, hiding behind some trees the other day. So that one must have been the alpha. I asked Kay to show me where he saw the Bigfoot, and I asked my son-in-law to stand where Kay had stood himself, and then I snapped a photo of them. As you can see for yourself, Kay came real close to that beast. As you can see for yourself, Kay came really close to that beast. This frightens me so much, since he and his family live so far in the forest with no neighbors around. I've been listening to all the stories told by you and others, and I know how dangerous it can be having a little one so close to those beings. Neither one of our experiences has been violent, but that doesn't keep me from worrying. The young male was way too close to my son's house for me to feel safe. Was the Bigfoot just curious? Was he perhaps interested in my young daughter-in-law? And what will, if that is the case, happen to her and/or the baby? Is the baby in danger? My son's not worried. He did not in any way feel threatened by the creature and is not afraid that his family is going to get hurt. I hope and pray that he's right. And I can't leave without telling you about my other strange sightings, even though I said I would not. Almost 5 years ago, Elle and I were once again on our way home when something ran across the road about 50 yards in front of us. Elle was driving and he let out a very shocked, "What the heck is that?" I could not believe what I had just witnessed. We both described the same thing. A black, human-looking, yet cat-like creature that more crawled than ran across the street. Its movements reminded me of Gollum from Lord of the Ring movie. We searched the internet, and nothing we could find looked like the thing we saw that day. And as most people seem to do, we kept the experience to ourselves, afraid that no one would believe us. After that experience, I stopped going to the woods, and my son always carried a knife when walking our dogs. That is how affected we were from that sighting. And 2 weeks after the incident with the moose and the creature I told you about in the beginning of this letter, I put my 2 little dogs in the car, bracket, nope, I won't walk them to the woods anymore, end bracket, and I drove to a glade not far from home to let them run around for a while. And not 10 minutes later, as I was leaning against the car, nope, I'm not going any further than 10 yards into any forest nowadays, watching my dogs, next strange sighting occurred. Out of the woods about 20 yards in, a big dog-like creature came running out towards the road, not 3 yards to the left of where I was standing. It was big. It must have been 4 to 5 feet high. It was black, muscular, and did not have any ears, as if they had been ripped off. It almost looked burned in a way, like it was all muscles and had no fur. I know how crazy this must sound to you, but I guarantee that I'm telling you the truth. It ran past me, but as it was about to jump out onto the road, it just vanished into thin air and it was gone. This time, I didn't even get scared. I just watched it run and disappear and crossed that off the list, if you know what I mean. I'm getting quite used to seeing strange things by now. I called my dogs and drove home, and that was it. This time I found a creature on YouTube that looks similar to what I saw, and I copied the link. I included a couple of photos so you can see just how close the creature got to my son's house. My son shows how it stood crouched, looking up at the house. As you can see from the photos, the Bigfoot had full view of the bathroom window as well as the kitchen window. My son-in-law stands roughly where my son stood when he saw the Bigfoot, but my son was facing the Bigfoot. My son-in-law, who was a little reluctant to even stay there long enough for me to take the photo, lol. I also included a photo of Elle and my grandson the day the little one waved at the man in the woods. You can, if you will, show the photo of Kay and my son-in-law if you wish, as long as you hide their faces. I don't know what to do with all these sightings. And why are there so many sightings and strange creatures occurring all over the world? More than ever now. What's going on? I guess that we will just have to wait and see. I can't leave without telling you how incredibly important your courage and the stories you tell have been to me and my boys during all of this. Just knowing that we are not alone, that others out there have experienced the same thing that me and my sons have, helps tremendously. Keep up the good work and please take care. I, for one, knows what lurks in the woods. Love, Bella. And here's a little update. Added on. For a few months now, Kay as well as his wife have both struggled with depression. Oh no. I don't know if that has anything to do with their experiences or not, but I worry that they feel a lot more alone in all of this, and maybe even more scared than what they're willing to admit. Kay has not had any more sightings, but he heard voices from outside one night. He woke around 2 a.m., thirsty, and went downstairs to drink some water and to let the dog out before going back to bed. And he suddenly heard children talking and giggling outside the kitchen window. But he could not make out what they said, since they talked in a language he did not understand. And it was so dark for him to see anything, so he drank his water and went upstairs again. Needless to say, the dog was never let out. Kay has stopped walking the dog in the evenings, and he keeps the front door locked at all times. It is so sad to see them this affected. I myself had heard whoops several times from the small tree line behind my home, and I swear to God, however strange this may seem, that I know or feel when there's something going on around Kay's house. Of course, I tell him whenever I get those warnings to be extra safe, but I can assure you that he already knows, and that he has gotten the same feeling or premonition. Still, I try to convince myself that they mean us no harm. I mean, if they would have wanted us gone one way or another, they would have done something by now. And they must have known about us way before they let us know about them. Again, please take care out there, Bella. Oh, that sucks. Hold on a minute. Okay, we got another one saved here, but it's the same one saved twice. One sec, you guys. Yeah, same one. All right, got it. What a shitty deal outcome, isn't it? But you got to agree, I guess, like you said, if they wanted whatever's going on around there, if they wanted to harm them, they would have harmed them by now physically. But it sounds like they've been harmed emotionally, right? And you got to, there's a lot of people, there's probably a handful of people listening to probably thinking, well, just be kind to them, leave them gifts, leave them some food. It's their home too. Yada yada. Think about this one. How about somebody who's been raised without absolutely zero knowledge, didn't even know about Harry and the Hendersons movie. Nothing. Haven't heard about nothing. Just trying to enjoy life, raise a family, have an awesome house in the forest like many people would want. And then all of a sudden there's real life monsters living around your home in the forest. Nothing you can do about it, and you can't deal with it. You got to think about it. We were talking about the other day, I made that poll and I posted it up here to ask everybody what they thought. Have the majority of eyewitnesses emailed in? Is there more eyewitnesses sitting here silent watching than have emailed in? And overwhelmingly everybody chose oh no, there's way more witnesses watching and not sharing. And I don't think we're going to hear from the people who have been emotionally affected. I don't think we're going to hear from them. I don't think they're going to email us. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a very high number of people who are emotionally affected and depressed and they're probably just lost day to day in what should be their dream home and the safest place in the world. And now they've got real, true, live monsters that have made themselves available to their eyeballs, and they're potentially maybe still out there in the forest. And there's going to be a lot of people that just can't deal, right? Just cannot deal. And they're now emotionally scarred, troubled, depressed, and that really, really sucks. And I wish that we could get a hold of every single person who may be in that same boat and get a hold of them and let them know that they're not alone and that this is true and they're not crazy and they can talk about it, and they probably should talk about it and learn about it so they can possibly salvage what they've got left of wanting to live a happy, frickin' fulfilling life in the real world, you know? I never really think about that too much. Do you guys? I never really think about that too much until just now reading this email of how many people out there are emotionally effed up beyond. And they're just trying to survive, don't know what to do, and they're depressed in their homes because of what they saw. Doesn't that suck? Like, shit, kind of in a way that almost shows how weak, potentially weak we are as a society, right? We're that weak. Who knows how many people we got out there who are absolutely messed right up because they can't talk to their fellow people in society. That's so wrong and stupid, right? Rambling, bambling. I wish I could help. I wish I could solve it all. I wish I could help everybody in the world. I wish I could rub at all the bad people. I wish I could create nothing but good for the whole planet, you know? It's frustrating, but we'll just keep pounding away. Anyways, absolutely appreciate you sending that in. If you're still here hanging out, please make sure your whole family listens to maybe one or two videos here, you know? So they know. Just so they know. Bring some... I don't know if it can bring comfort or not. I hope so. It has for many, right? It has for many. Anyway. Moving along. If you got another update, I'm really, really, really curious to know what's going on today. All right? Especially with the young couple that are having troubles. Let us know, if you would. All right. Next. Hello, Steve. I emailed you a few months back about an experience I had on my motorcycle about 6 years ago. I have never told anyone about the encounter before writing to you. I am a very skeptical guy. I'm an auto repair shop owner in business for 28 years and was in the Naval Reserves, 51 years old. I love to fish and hunt. Duck's really the only thing I hunt. Anyway, since I told you my story to you and my family, I have passed the place I had the encounter and have been really thinking of it way more. I've gone duck hunting since I told you my story, and 6 years have passed since I had the encounter that scared literally the piss out of me. Nothing has happened, but both times that I've hunted since, something has. It's close to where I saw and what I saw that night 6 years ago. It caught my eye as I sat in my blind in the Maurepas Swamp, WMA. So that's Maurepas. Maurepas. It was intentional. I know it was. It made that irritated, almost painful groan I heard almost 6 years ago. I could feel that it wanted me to know that it knew I had been thinking of it and telling my story. This sounds familiar. I was swiping at the thick amount of mosquitoes and looking up at the sky for birds. I could feel a strong sense to look to the right, and it scared me to have that feeling. I looked, and I saw this damn thing about 80 yards, leaning against a willow tree. It was at least 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide. I could see its arms clearly, muscle-bound, and almost signaling where I can remember. Sorry. Okay, missed out some quotes. I could see its arms clearly muscle-bound and almost signaling, quote, "Here I am, remember me, you MFer?" I cannot convey the fear that I had, Steve. I couldn't move or breathe. It stood there and talked to me somehow in my mind. It was saying, "I'm here, and you know who I am." I looked away for 30 seconds. I cleared the tears from my eyes and looked up, and it was gone. I know it sounds insane. Is this thing tracking now that it's been on my mind or telling my family? 1 month later, I went fishing in my canoe for some bass about 12 miles from where I hunted. The same damn thing happened to the T. Only this time it was closer, and I was even more scared if possible. It was on the bank this time, and I could see its eyes and face. Like you said, I think people should know these things are there. Or here or everywhere, who knows? I'm not going to stop telling people about this because if people know, they can watch where they go. This bastard seems to know that I'm telling people. Thanks for all you do, Steve, and keep telling our stories. People need to know about these bastards. My name is Kelly Welsh. Use my name, and if you want, so others will know normal, everyday, skeptical 51-year-old men with teenagers and a wife can't be crazy. Ooh. Kelly, you still hanging out here, my man? Please email me back. Give me an update, all right? Give me an update if you would. What do I got to say about that? I don't know. What do you guys got to say about that? I think for me, I'd probably do what, Scott Carpenter, he helped a lot of people with shit going on around their properties and had success. I don't know. I guess we're all built differently, right? But I think, well, I don't know. If I was getting that kind of negative messages from somebody like that, something like that, I mean, I'd be like, yeah, probably rebuke it in the name of Jesus Christ for sure. Commanded to leave me alone, and you're not allowed to be here or do anything to me. And if you persist, I'm going to put a hole in your head. Maybe. Do you know what I mean? Not all of us can come up with that kind of aggression, I guess. I don't know. But that's how I carried myself with that attitude for a long time in the woods. I used to talk out loud with full-on trucker mouth. I mean, nasty. I remember I started my hike up into the timber in the coastal mountains where I'm about to go do that in a few days. And I used to say flat out, I'd say every curse word you come up with out loud. Well, not like yelling it, but just talking like someone's beside me all the way through the woods in the dark, saying, you come near me, I'm going to put so many holes in you, you MFer, F off, blah, 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 right? Used to do that all the time. And then I started learning more from all of you. And then now I just say, I know you're here. You know I'm here. Let's not ruin it for each other. Because if you're going to be ruining it for me, I'm probably going to do my best to ruin it for you too. So let's just not go there. Anyway, I'm repeating myself, aren't I? And there we go. More voices heard. Right? More truth shared. And please, leaving on this note, if you could just don't forget, whoever mainstream or the main voices that have the biggest platforms right now are trying to discredit, they're more than likely the bad guys. Okay? Look into it yourself. Don't let anybody dictate to you what's up. Look into it yourself. Look into everything you can yourself and go with your gut on your decision in the end. All right? It's the only way to go. It's the only way to go. Anyway, I gotta go. I gotta go start packing my stuff to go up into the mountains in the middle of nowhere. Sarah thinks I'm bonkers. Of course I'm bonkers. Who isn't? Anyway, oh, it's gonna be kind of cringy. It's been raining here nonstop. It's gonna be calling for snow, cold temperatures, and I don't know if you've ever gone camping in the snow by yourself in the woods, but it can be challenging. It can be pretty challenging, especially with when you get back. It's pitch black. You're wet. You need to dry your clothes out somehow. You're hoping the clothes that you wanted to dry from the day before are dry. And you keep going. Then you got to cook a meal in the dark and you're freezing. And I get the generator going to recharge the battery so I can use that heater and get the heater going. No, I don't have a wall tent and a wood stove. But it's funny. Different people have different levels of tolerance for discomfort. You know what I mean? Sarah, not so much. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like discomfort. She doesn't even like branches getting in the face. She calls it irritants. There's too many irritants. Too many irritants going through the trails. I'm going to share this with you. I'm done with the emails in case my voice annoys you, but I'm going to give you a story of I've had quite a few moments of extreme discomfort over the years. Quite a few, real bad. Like one time being about 12 or 14 miles up into the Rocky Mountains without any trails, no horses, all backpack, walking on game trails, and the river came through a tent at about 1 a.m. and the rain was so hard, it was absolutely ridiculous. So picture throwing your tent in a lake, and all your clothes in a lake, and it's pouring rain as hard as you could ever imagine, and every single thing you have is completely soaked like it was in a lake. And then you have to roll up your sleeping bag, put it in this little container. All your clothes, all your food, all your cooking, your little cooking tools for your backpack hunt, your tent, pack it all up, put it in your backpack, and then put the backpack on and start hiking out through the mountains for a long time. That was pretty bad, but one that comes to mind for this time of year, I remember one time I was working for this outfit, and it was the last hunt of the year. And typically that's going to be a real snowy, nasty moment way up north, because winter comes sooner up north, right? Picture this one. So we were already about a 8 or 9 hour horseback ride into the mountains from the Alaska Highway. And once I got there, I took my hunter and a tent, wall tent, wood stove. Did I have a wood stove? Had a wood stove. And then I rode a further 5 hours farther out in the middle of nowhere, North Alaska Highway, and it was a blizzard, and I mean a frickin' blizzard. It was absolute hell came. Had some grain for the horses to try to keep them around camp, and I remember waking up in the wall tent with my hair frozen, stuck to the side of the wall tent. Then I had to get up, catch the horses, light a fire, and it was so cold, you grab your bridle by the bit, and the reins were frozen stiff, sticking straight out 90 degrees. That's how cold it was. And then when the saddles and the blankets came off the horses, they just got frozen. And then I have to start a fire and hold the blankets, the saddle pads, and the saddles, hold them by the fire to get them malleable enough to get them to fit the horse again, and then to get the reins and the bit frozen up and warm enough that you could use them. And then pack up all that camp, that cold and shitty, pack it all up, get it on all the horses, and then start riding 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think we rode 12 or 13 hours. And you know what happens when there's a fresh blizzard? You know, all the branches are all loaded up with snow and they all bow down like this. So the trails are absolutely filled in and covered with all the willow, crisscrossed over the trails with all that heavy snow on top of all the leaves, and you're pushing through this. You're pushing through it for I think it was 12 hours. I think we did that day. That's like I'm gonna put the barrel of my rifle in my mouth and put my toe in the trigger moments, right? Your lap, everything is getting completely full of snow, and I'm the first one. I'm leading. The first one down the horse trail after a blizzard gets it bad. Yeah. Okay, I'm rambling. Memories coming up. I got lots of discomfort, hardcore discomfort stories. Maybe I'll share them another time. I'm definitely gonna write another book. I gotta write a book about my life one day. I got a lot of crazy ass shit to share that people probably wouldn't believe. But anyway, ramble babbling. Everybody have a great weekend, all right? Have a great weekend. Please seek out truth. Okay? Seek out and share truth whenever you can. And don't forget the clues on who the bad guys are today, all right? Figure out who the bad guys are and make sure all of your decisions are made by you and your gut. Don't let anybody tell you what's up, all right? And share your truth. And don't be scared. Share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get it shared, word for word. That's where we are all equal. All right? Every one of us, we're all equal. Babbling. Here I go, packing my shit. I think I should be able to be back tomorrow. Later.